Good evening and welcome to our Derby preview. Unfortunately, our normal host Luke Elder cannot be here as this is the wedding, so you get me instead. My name's Adam Webb. Joining me tonight are the Dream Team, as the last time us three were on a video together, we had the Ark, and let's just say we had a lot of fun and we had a few winners. So joining me tonight, we've got Michael Andrews, who unfortunately his internet's a bit in and out, so we may only get half the sentences, so we'll have to try and decipher what he's saying. And we also have Callum Riddell, who had an anti-post winner today with Tagruda. How impressed were you by that performance, Callum?
Yeah, very impressed. I think with Tagruda, I thought that her pedigree is just stacked full of middle distance promise, and especially on her dam side, and she's by Sea the Stars. And I thought if she got a decent position and she travelled well and had a high cruising speed, and then she wouldn't be beaten. And she showed that today, and she quickened very, very nicely. Again, in behind, I thought the other hand-down horse, Stafasha, ran very respectably. I thought Volume ran an absolute screamer. I mean, she's a horse that I liked when she ran third in a handicap at the Craven meeting. I didn't think she'd be Oaks class, and she's shown that she is. And Inchilla in fourth. I mean, I don't really want to talk about Inchilla, but that was a real gap. That really was. That hurt. I mean, I've never. That's the most hurtful fourth I've ever had in racing. So yeah, but no, it was a good race, and I mean, no way would Inchilla have won, but I do think she should have finished second.
Fair enough. Michael, what did you think of Tagruda?
I honestly thought. Oh dear, not again.
No, it's okay.
You're there.
Okay. Tagruda, I just thought 5-1 is a ridiculous price for Tagruda, so I backed her, and yeah, very happy. I did back Inchilla as well after everyone was going on about it on Twitter, and I did get 4 places, unlike some of the people who actually quite liked her way more than I. I couldn't believe the drift on Tagruda. I was really happy with that, and hopefully we'll get a similar drift on Australia out to 5-1 tomorrow. Just not quite sure about it.
Well, as I'll admit, last night in the video, I was against Tagruda on that pretty folly form, but safe to say she proved me wrong, and I'm very pleased she did in that manner. And it was also great for the Hills, because Richard Hills is so associated with Sheikh Hamdan, and it was just lovely to see the reaction after post-race with the interview. We're going to move on now to today's cards. We've got a bit of an issue with tomorrow because we don't know how much rain is going to fall at Epsom. At the moment, it's good to firm in places, but by tomorrow it could be good to soft. It could even be soft because they've got between no millimetres of rain or 25 millimetres of rain. Now, I'm not going to hedge my bets and go with that, but it'll be interesting. Anyway, so the first race is a 3-year-old Bobbies handicap, the Investec Out of Ordinary Stakes. And we're going to start with Callum on this race. And just before we do, there's a horse in this I really like. Can you give Double Bluff any chance?
Double Bluff, yeah. I thought he ran really well behind Western Hymn and Snow Sky at Newbury, which is a race that's worked out extremely well. And I was a little bit disappointed last time when he was well beaten in the Linfield Derby trial. Interesting that he's been given a mark of 97. He could be one to build on that. My fancy for the race, considering I think it will be softer ground, or at least with some cut in the ground, I think What About Carlo's well worth another go. I mean, he won really well at Sandown on his reappearance. He beat a horse called End of Line, who ran in the same race and ran nicely again. And the Haydock race that he ran in, when was it, 2 weeks ago, was a very strong race. It was a Charté race. It's a lot stronger than this for me. And he travelled really well into the race, and then just didn't really find much. And Eve Johnson Houghton, I heard an interview with her, and I can't remember what she said exactly, but she said something had gone wrong with him late on, and that it's a more than excusable defeat. But she thought that the horse was going to go and win the race, and I think an Upton trip to 10 furlongs I think is up his street, and I think at 9-1 he's well worth a go tomorrow.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Michael, what's your selection in this race?
Yeah, I would have pretty much said the same as Callum when it comes to the Double Bluff. That form of Western Hymn. So, and I think 16-1 each way would be a bit overpriced. I think the ones that have the most potential would be the Haggis pair, Yenhab and Flippant, although I'm not impressed with Flippant's form. I think Yen have, especially both of them found out behind Wedding Ring last year, and I just worry if he would be so again. Has my internet gone again? Oh dear.
Yeah, it just keeps cutting out. Like,
yeah, it's not as bad as it could be. It's not like every word. We get
I'll have to get my
sentences.
cards back out again.
So what's your selection then, just to clarify?
On the list that looks to be Haggis's first string, and I like the form better.
Okay, fair enough. My selection, I'm hoping, all over this forecast right now, I'm hoping there isn't much that's going to hit before the first race for Double Bluff, because for me he wants better ground, because he went to France last year after a really good maiden win at Goodwood, and he didn't exactly handle the softer ground. Good to soft would be fine for him, because on that form with Western Him and Snow Sky, he'd have a big chance in this. He disappointed last time out. I'm willing to forgive that run. And at 16s, he could be overpriced. And with how some of the front runners were doing today, he could be hard to peg back over that trip. We're going to move on now to the second race, once I get it up. It's our first 2-year-old race of the season. I'm going to start with Michael this time. Oh. Yeah, I think it's gone.
yeah, he's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael, we didn't hear anything then.
Oh, goodness sake. This is so annoying. This is because Isla keeps downloading Let's Go Horsey or something.
Oh, well, we'll start with Callum. If you're going to go sort the problem out, Michael.
Yeah, I would.
Alright, then we'll let Callum go first, and I'll let Michael
This is a car crash. We need Luke. Yeah, shall I talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Woodcut, isn't it? Yeah, the Woodcut. It's usually a fair little race. I looked at the market and I had Biter Alga shorter than he is. I've been really impressed by him on his first 2 starts. He finished second to a horse I rate very highly of Godolphins called Winslow. I think is potentially Coventry class. And then he made no mistake last week at Chester. And again, he didn't get the easiest of runs. He got checked on the rail, but the way he travelled and the way he dealt with that, getting checked and then just quickening really nicely, I thought was very impressive. And I think he's got more than enough capable to handle Epsom, even though he's shown he's handled Chester well. And yeah, I think he's the one to beat by some margin. Ballymore Castle is probably the danger. He won quite nicely at another Chester maiden over 5 furlongs on soft. He should improve for 6. But the Newbury race with Casp hasn't really worked out as well. Lightning Stride needed every yard of 5 furlongs last time. I think should improve for 6, but again needs to prove the ground. Red Icon I think is probably the danger. I mean, he didn't beat much last time at Haydock, but he did win it quite nicely. And I know he's a horse that the Tom Duscombe yard quite likes. So Biter Algar I do really like for this, but Red Icon for second.
I agree with you on Biter Alga. I was really impressed with that Chester win, because I remember I was watching it, and he got really badly checked, and the way he came clear as well, he won it really comfortably. And as you said, Epsom won't be an issue for him. I think he is the likely winner of this race. I also agree with you on the Dascombe horse as well. I mean, Tom Dascombe's actually in quite good form at the minute as well.
Yeah.
So I think that could be an interesting forecast if any of you would like to do that. We may have Michael, I'm not sure. He's there.
Yeah.
What have you got? What do you think wins the Woodcut, the second race? Oh, Michael?
Sorry, Michael. You are the weak link.
Can you see it?
Castle. Yep, we can see that. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an interesting way of doing it. It's like Grondaway's back, and the signs are back. Ballymore Castle needed every yard last time out. Okay. What wins it, Michael?
Ballymore Castle.
Oh God.
Ballymore Castle, right. But that's short and sweet. Anyway, now we're going to go on to a race that, for those of you who were watching last night, we had our special guest, Sean Ellis, aka Shries, and he was very, very sweet on one from Germany who's coming over for the Coronation Cup, which this year he's been running commemoration of St Nicholas Abbey, and who was a great racehorse. Won the Coronation Cup 3 times, twice or three. I can't remember. But yeah, it's great that they've named it after him. I mean, they did it with the Oaks with Sir Henry Cecil, and I just think it's a great way to remember him. We're going to come to Callum first because Michael's got all sorts of problems with his internet. Sirius Zegler's a short price favourite. Can you be on his side?
I think he's opposable, very opposable at the prices. I've always thought that 10 furlongs on soft ground he's still a high class horse, but anything different, I think he's vulnerable. And I was very surprised how well he ran at Meydan actually in the Shima Classic, which is a race he's won in the past, and he finished a really good second to Gentle Donna with a couple of these in behind as well. And that was a very strong run, and on that sort of form, I think he's the one to beat. But I do think he's always vulnerable at 12 furlongs, and he has beaten Trev this season, and he was pretty impressive last time at Longchamp in the Deepahan. And yeah, I just do think he's opposable over 12 furlongs, but it's just finding the right horse to beat him. He will run his race, but will it be good enough to win? The one that is the only one that's anywhere near him, I think, in terms of class so far, is Flintshire. But again, he's a good horse. He won the Grand Prix de Paris last year, but he was beaten the next twice on softer ground, and any rain I think will be a real negative. I also think that he'll improve for the run because Andre Fabre he does keep a lot off his horse's first time out, and I do think he might need the run. And he's a horse I want to keep on side this year, but I think he might not be one for tomorrow. So that brings something else. I think Talent might run quite well. Rafe Beckett is one that likes to target this race. Empely's a bit of a nutcase. When he didn't go in the stalls twice at Meydan. He was disqualified last year for hampering a horse when he finished second behind Meandra. He's not a horse that is Group 1 class at this moment in time. If I went for anything at a bigger price, I think Ambivalent, who's just slowly but surely improving. I was really impressed by a win at York last time out in the Middleton. She was quite keen early on. She played up as she usually does, and she did much of the donkey work up front, but she was always just going along and still finding, and she was too good for them in the end. And she beat Secret Gesture, who has some decent form of talent, obviously last year with the Oaks, and Rafe Beckett, obviously training both. And she's just going the right way. This trip should suit, and she was she's very close to finishing behind Sirius Zegler at Meydan in the Shima Classic, and she's 14-1. So yeah, I think Ambivalent each way is a really good little price at 14s.
That's not the worst shout for this race. Let's see how Michael's internet is faring and Michael's selection in this race. Okay, he's going to hold it up. Empely, question mark.
Does he want to win?
Does he want to win? But nothing else unless it rains for Sirius. Talent, Heart, Epsom. Yeah, they're fair enough points. Yeah, but I've actually backed Empely in this. Sean's convincing argument last night made me think that in this race there's not many that I'd want to be on side with. I mean, you've got Sirius, who I think is an absolute legend, around 10 furlongs on soft ground, but does he want 12? Will he handle Epsom? They're the main concerns. I hope he does, and if he does win, I'd be very pleased. Flintshire, as Callum has said, he's one I do want to keep on side, and I do think he will win a Group 1 this season, given his conditions, which is fast ground and 12 furlongs, because his Grand Prix de Paris win was really impressive.
Yeah.
Talent, I'm not sure first time out. I mean, yes, she loves Epsom, and yes, she was a good winner of the Oaks. She will need a fair bit of rain, though, and if it comes, then she would have a good chance. Empely, he is a tricky character, but his run of the Shima Classic was really promising, considering everything Sean said last night. If you missed it, go and watch it, because he gave a very convincing argument. Ambivalent, I'm not going to disagree with Callum. I thought she was impressive at York. Luke made a case for Beacon Lady, who won very impressively in a handicap, beating Dardu Run Run, who is a horse that Luke also likes as well. But the other two, Joshua Tree, this isn't Woodbine, as Sean said last night, and Battalion, probably not good enough. Battalion even. Yeah, that was another story from last night that I called it Battalion, when I should have called it Battalion. But yeah, for me it's Empely. now we're going to move on to possibly one of the fastest races of the year. Blink and it's gone. It's the Epsom Dash. We're going to start off. We'll have to start with Callum again because Michael's internet, it gives him time to write stuff out. What have you gone for in this race?
It's not one that inspires much, this race. I mean, it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, but I just don't know what the ground's going to be. And a lot of different horses want different ground in this race. If it's soft, then or softer, I think Steps comes right into it. Steps won last week. Big favourite of mine. I want to keep well on side. A little bit harsh that he's got a £4 penalty in this because he's only due to go up £1 for that win. So that's a little bit harsh on off top weight, but he travels so well and he loves softer ground. So if he does get it, I think he's a big danger even off top weight. Caspian Prince, I think, is respected, got good course and distance form, goes on any ground and in really good form. Smooth Talking Rascal, I think, is a very poor favourite, if I'm honest. I mean, very, very fast finishing loser last year, but he doesn't seem to be in the same form to me this year. And off 106, I think he's not very well handicapped, to be totally honest. Even Stevens, again, absolutely went like a bullet last week, but I think he's a poor price. Elusivity just does not know how to win, even though he's in really good form. Swan Song, I think, is worth another chance. Was unlucky last week. Lost a shoe before the race. The hood went off about 10 minutes after the stalls came open. So I think Swan Song's worth a chance, and on softer ground, I think she'll be suited. And if it is decent ground, if there's no rain tomorrow, then New Forest, her stablemate, I think has got a huge chance. So I was speaking to one of the Elite Racing Club owners, and they are really sweet on her chances, and they've been targeting this race for a long time, but she does need top of the ground. So if it's good ground, I think New Forest has got a major chance. If not, Steps and Swan Song are the two for me.
I actually agree with you on that, but I'm going to read what Michael has written. Right, Michael has written a whole load of comments in the box at the side, so I'm going to read them out. Stop, Steps. Okay, so he wrote this. He said the dash is a real spectacle to watch. Yeah, he's got it there on a piece of paper. So Steps should be group quality, but that's a lot of weight in this kind of race. We'll want a bit of rain as well, and if he gets that, I think Steps does have a huge chance because he's got Kieran Fallon on board again. And if Luke was here, he'd probably be raving about that. It was his nap last week as well. Actually, that's something we didn't do. We didn't get a nap off Luke. So Barnet Fair could pop up at any moment. Decent run last time out. Beat Steps on good to firm ground at Ascot last year, when Steps was a green number 5. Luke's theory there. Even Stevens could really set it up, and he went like the wind last week at York and set it up very nicely for Top Boy and Body and Soul. Tangerine Trees would be fantastic now, age 9. I actually agree with Callum as well on Swan Song as well, who was, well, you could say disappointing in the run last week, but then you think of all the excuses that came out of the run. I think she definitely deserves another go in this race, and she's well drawn as well. For me, it's agreeing with Callum because it's Swan Song and Steps for me. I mean, Steps, I think if he's group class and wins this, it'd be great, and also it'd be Callum's hunch from the video as well, from that we did way back in March.
Yeah.
And now it is time to talk about the big race of the day, also potentially one of the big races of the year in the Derby. Now, we're going to do it a bit similar to the art, where I'm just going to pose questions to the panel, and also your guys' questions as well, which I will ask after we've done this, even if it is to do with the Derby. But keep sending them in, and also keep sending in your Derby selections as well. The point to start, basically, is with Aidan O'Brien. He's got 4 runners in the race, and he's got Australia, who has been hyped up. Before the Guineas, we were very sceptical whether he would be effective in a fast ground Guineas over a mile. He proved that. Now, tomorrow, we don't know what the ground will be, but I'm going to go to Callum first. I'll let Michael write his essay out so I can read it out in a minute. But Callum, what do you think Australia can win? And if any of the other O'Brien horses could step up, what would they be?
I think he's the one to beat Australia. I mean, I've always had him as a middle distance type. I'd never had him as a Guineas horse, and considering he was only beaten 3/4 of a length in what seemed a well above average Guineas, I think was highly commendable. And he's absolutely bred for a Derby. I mean, he's by a Derby winner out of an Oaks when he doesn't get much better than that. So, yeah, I think he should go okay on any ground. I know he hasn't run on anything worse than good officially, but I think any softer ground I think will be fine for him. He's a really good moving type. I think he's clearly the one to beat. I don't want to be taking 13-8 at all. I mean, I think that's probably about right. I'll probably have him a bit bigger than that, to be honest. But yeah, he's the one to beat for me. Looking at the other O'Brien horses, I've been quite keen on Orchestra for a while. Again, perfect middle distance pedigree, and I was really impressed by his win at Chester. I know he only won by a nose in the end, but the way he travelled and the way he handled Chester was really impressive, and it just looked like a horse that would really relish a Derby test and a strong pace to aim at, because he's a good traveller over this sort of trip. He's rated around 110, does need to improve, but I think he's got it in him, and he just seems to type like a Treasure Beach or a Rule of the World even. You know, a horse coming from Chester, running well at Chester, and then running well in the big one. I just think, I think 16 to 1's a very fair price, and considering that price and 16s and Geoffrey Chaucer's 10s, and especially when you consider that Ebenora and Fascinating Rock, who are ahead of him in the Derensdown, and Geoffrey Chaucer's shortest, I just think that's a joke. I mean, Geoffrey Chaucer was unlucky, he travelled very well into the race and didn't get the clearest of runs, but Fascinating Rock and Ebenora are two very high-class horses who both have got some strong form in the book, and I don't see why they won't confirm that form. I think they've got more improvement in the Mufton trip, just as much as Geoffrey Chaucer. In fact, I think they've got more chance of improving for the trip, especially Ebenora, who has a lot of stamina in his pedigrees on the dam side, and Fascinating Rock has a hell of a lot of stamina on the dam side, being a half to Galileo Rock, who's placed at Derby last year, and Sadler's Rock, who again is a very good stayer, and he's by Fastnet Rock, so there's a bit of a lot of speed in the sire, but I think he could improve a better ground, and that should bode well for Fascinating Rock. He's one that I really like tomorrow. Fascinating Rock, he's my most likely each way winner. Looking elsewhere, Kingston Hill, if the rain comes, I think has to come into it. Again, he's a horse that I thought would run okay in the Guineas and then potentially be a Derby type, and that looks true. True Story, very impressive at Newmarket, but very poor last time at York in the Dante, and that doesn't bode well for Epsom, I don't think, and I don't think he'll handle the track particularly well, especially from draw one. If anything from the Dante pops up, I think A-Rod's the one that's got a big chance. I mean, he looked very green still there. So that's a worry, but he should improve for 12 furlongs again, and if the rain stayed away, he's one I'd be keen on. At bigger prices, I can't see anything else really troubling. Western Him, I think, is worth a mention. I don't think he'll handle the track, and I don't think he'll stay. So he's a negative, and I think they've done the wrong thing to come here. But it's a fantastic derby. I'm really looking forward to it. The two for me, I'm going to be doing Fascinating Rock and Orchestra. I've already done Orchestra at 20 to 1, and I'm going to forecast them both with Australia, because I think Australia could be a good thing.
I'm going to read, just before I read out Michael's, Pricewise has had his say again on the derby. He's already got True Story and Kingston Hill advised. He's gone with Fascinating Rock.
Oh, I don't believe it.
And in the dash, he's gone with Monsieur Joe and Seeking Magic.
I don't believe it. I saw 16 to 1 earlier, and I nearly took it, and I didn't.
Yeah, he's now as short as 10s. This is what Michael's got to say on the derby. He said Australia was very impressive in the Guineas, and his breeding is like music to the ears for this race. Good way to put it. Deserves favouritism, and hoping for another dramatic drift like today with Tagruda. Western Him really impressed him this year, none more than so than in desperate ground at Sandown. Master Carpenter won listed race since the only unbeaten member of the field. That is a good point to make as well. Kingston Hill is not one to discount at all, and is 1-2-3, because we're going to give a 1-2-3 in a short while. His is Australia to be first, Western Him to be second, and Kingston Hill to be third. Now, this is where I am different to these two. I'm convinced if the rain really does come, I don't think Australia will be in the frame. And I know it sounds like a crazy idea, but the price is, he is too short. And this is, as Callum has said, it's a really good derby. But my reasonings for Australia not to be in the first three, number one is the softer ground if he doesn't handle it, especially over that trip as well. Number two, when he was a 2-year-old, do you remember his maiden run where he lost about 6 lengths at the start? He did that in every run as a 2-year-old. I mean, he came out the stalls fine in the Guineas, but that's something that can linger at the back of your mind. Number three, he has shown plenty of speed. I mean, we doubted that he'd show enough speed to feature in a Guineas, yet he did, which makes me wonder whether he'd be better at a mile or 10 furlongs. I personally think his best trip will be 10 furlongs in the long run. And my final reason, it's not me trying to be critical because I don't like to be as critical on jockeys, but if there's a jockey who could mess it up in big style, it could be Joseph O'Brien. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but some of the rides he has given so far this season have been questionable, and I wouldn't want to be taking a price bet Australia. I mean, the biggest price you can get is 13 to 8, and I know tomorrow morning you can get 5 to 2 if you get on at William Hill at 8:30 in the morning on the phones, but I still wouldn't want to be taking 5 to 2. I'm going to have to ask. I'm going to pose a question to Callum quickly. Out of the Godolphin trio, do you like any of them?
No. Yeah, it's a simple question. No, I don't think Southern One is good enough. I don't think Bizzola is anywhere near good enough. And True Story is the one that potentially could be, but after that Dante run, he's not one I could be backing.
I agree with you on that. I don't. Well, I think Southern Wonder and Pinzola, if they're ridden more forward and make it a real stamina test, they could feature at the end, but it'd have to be the runs of their careers. True Story, the way he was in the Dante just really worried me. It was just the fact for about 6 strides, as Luke said last night, he was doing some weird. It was a really strange action, and he cannot be doing that around Epsom. Plus, his draw of Store 1 is a real worry as well. Then again, you could argue that with Kingston Hill as well, who was a horse I put up in the video as a horse to follow for the Derby. I thought his Guineas run was really good on ground that was too quick, and he did get outpaced as well. And also, he's the only Group 1 winner in the race. He won the Racing Post Trophy, and the form of that race, it's a strange one. I mean, I've seen people say it's really bad form, but you look at some of the horses that have come out of it. The Grey Gatsby has come out and won a Prix de Jockey Club under a brilliant ride for Ryan Moore last week, and Michael's shaking his head in disbelief there. Yeah, he fancied Prince of Gibraltar, who was not given the best ride. You also had Snow Sky come out as well and win the Lingfield Derby trial as well. So there are some bits of form coming out of it, and Kingston Hill was very impressive that day on soft ground. If the rain does come, I can see him being in the first 3 definitely. I can't have Geoffrey Chaucer at all. I think that he wants 10 furlongs. I don't think he'll stay, even though you've got Mundur in the pedigree. The fact that Helsinki's out of Machiavellian, who was a 5 furlong sprinter, that doesn't fill me with much confidence. And plus the amount of pace he's shown in his races as well.
Yeah, and the progenies related to him. I mean, you've got horses like Shamadal. He's a half brother to Shamadal, and he was one that didn't stay. Well, he was best at 10 furlongs, and I agree with you. I think 10 furlongs is his ideal trip, and because he's got a real high cruising speed. I just don't see him as a Derby horse, but we'll see tomorrow.
Although you have to respect Ryan Moore as a jockey bookie, and he will have had the choice over him and Orchestra as well. Yeah. Out of the rest of the English lot, before I go on to my main 2, because I have 2 fancies for the Derby, but I have split them to have a winner. A-Rod is a horse I do like. I think he could potentially be overpriced if the rain doesn't come. But the problem is, I thought he was a bit green in the Dante, and I just think that could be a concern. But further down the line, he could be something like a Ledger type. But I think he'll run well. Western Him is one that I really don't think will handle the track. I think when we saw the Lingfield Gallop, I was worried. The Epsom Gallop wasn't as bad, but he did have his stablemate there to keep him in, so he wouldn't drift off a true line. The 2 that I really like in the race, and the form that I'm going to take, as good as the Guineas form is, with Australia and Kingston Hill, I'm going to be taking a Derrinstown form. Fascinating Rock was the winner after Ebanoran was disqualified, but I'm actually going to go with the way it finished, and that Ebanoran's going to win, because I just was really impressed that day with the turn of foot he showed, and you need that in a Derby. I've got no issue with him staying the trip. John Ox's record in the race is sublime. I mean, he's had 3 runners in the race since 2000, and Sindar was a winner, Azam Moore was 3rd, and Seaver Stars obviously came and won. So that is just an unbelievable record, which tells you how much you must rate the horse to bring him over. Also as well, Fascinating Rock, Dermot Weld rarely brings horses over for the Derby as well. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. And I know that Luke really fancies Fascinating Rock to turn over the form with Ebanoran as it finished on the track. It's interesting his breeding as well, because he's bred by Fascinate Rock, who is essentially a sprinter, and then you've got the dam side, which is full of stamina. And I think Dermot Weld was recorded in saying that he needed that Fastnet Rock in the pedigree to help him if he was ever going to win a Derby. So there's an interesting way to look at it. and I think both of them two are the value in the race. So my 1, 2, 3 in the Derby would be Ebernoran to win, Fascinating Rock to come second, and in third Kingston Hill. What was your 1, 2, 3 again? Sorry, Callum. Just
Australia, Fascinating Rock and Orchestra.
And Michael's 1, 2, 3 Australia, Western Hymn, and Kingston Hill. We forgot to ask Luke because he's still at the wedding, so yeah, I'm not going to disturb him. So he'll probably put a 1, 2, 3 up on Twitter, or we'll get him to do something later tonight or tomorrow morning. That's it for the previews anyway, but we've got questions, and thank you very much for asking questions. If you've got any quickly, send them in now, and I will read them out. And I don't know if Michael or Callum have got any questions just before I get mine up. Oh, okay, here we go. Matt 1 to 3, the Horseman 12. Good luck with the preview, thank you. He said it's going to be a game of guessing the going, and he's priced it up. Normally it's Callum that does pricing up of certain things, but he says good 3 to 1, good to soft even money, soft ground 7 to 4. Would you take any of them prices about any of them going descriptions?
I'd go for good to soft, and I don't think there's much value in the evens.
Fair enough. I wouldn't take any of them prices. Sorry, Matt. Kai Wills, Ballymoral Castle, does it win? Far he likes a lot. Did Luke enjoy being a page boy today? I hope Luke doesn't. Luke will watch this later, and he will not be pleased to hear you saying that. Callum made the point about Ballymoral Castle earlier. We think that Bifaralga is the good horse in that race. Good thing.
I do.
Yeah, that's the way of wording it. I just didn't want to word it in that way, and you just be like, it's not a confidence election. You've done that before. Jackie Kingdom has tweeted, will there be a review of the Market Raisin Bumper? Which, chilly miss. Well done to Jackie and the Racegoers Club. It was a very impressive performance, I thought. She beat a very useful Donald McKay Merriam, What Does the Fox Say? And I'm glad Luke's not here, because he would probably sing that at us right now. Michael's singing it to himself. But yeah, she did it really well, and you've got a very nice horse. Candice Hare from America sends us a tip of Geoffrey Chaucer for the Derby. Sorry, Candice, not for me, not for Callum, not for Michael, I don't think. No, sorry. And Luke doesn't like him either, so it's a big no from the four of us. Play to Win has sent us 2 questions. Do any of you have any anti-post selections for Ascot? #abseil. Also, will California Chrome do it tomorrow night?
Yes. Really want California Chrome to win tomorrow because I backed him for the Triple Crown. I'm back. I'm just going to start talking, and if it comes out, that's the end of it. But I think California Chrome, I'm worried about him, but I'd like him to win, and I think the whole of America would like him to win as well. I got the Triple Crown price before the first race, and I got it at 16 to 1. So fingers crossed, all will go well, and he'll win tomorrow. But I think the distance is the biggest worry.
Your internet was absolutely perfect until you said the last word then. That was brilliant. Yeah. At least it's perfect. It's like worry, it came out, worry. Do you think California Chrome could do it, Callum?
I think it's a tough ask, a very tough ask. I mean, we've seen horses go into the Belmont and be 2 for 2, and horses that have won more impressively than California Chrome and haven't won it. And there is a reason the fact that it hasn't been won for so many years, and California Chrome has taken advantage probably of quite a weak 3-year-old crop and a lot of injuries. But it's such a different test, the Belmont over 12 furlongs, and I think it's a very tough ask. I certainly won't be taking 5 to 4, but I would absolutely love it if he won. It'd be such a good story. Yeah,
I agree there. I'd love him to win, but I'm not sure he can do it over 12 furlongs. I mean, Tonalist is one that is a big worry for Christophe Clement. But for me, it'd be great for America. It'd be great for his owner and trainer. I think it's been a lovely story to follow because he was only bought for like $8,000.
Yeah,
so it'd be a fantastic story. Also, I'm going to come back to the first part of the question. Do any of us have any anti-post selections for Ascot? I have several, but some of them aren't even in races that have been entered up yet. So has Callum got any? Because I know Callum loves Ascot.
I've got Softball and Rain for the Queen Anne at 25s. And I think that's it at the moment. The handicaps, I wait until later on. And there's a couple I've been interested in for the 2-year-old races, but again, I haven't been priced up properly. So I might have a couple before, but unlikely to.
I
Well,
think I'd be interested in see what Wesley Ward brings over again this year.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting angle. But I think the whole world after No Nay Never will know that he brings over some decent beasts.
Mm.
yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I've got a couple for handicaps. I mean, at long term. I mean, I said Red Avenger last night, and he ran a cracking race today. I was really pleased with that. I think the Wolverton over 10 furlongs would be absolutely ideal for him, but he does need quick ground. Um, Others, I mean, Leading Light is my anti-post bet this season, and unfortunately, the first two anti-post bets of the season haven't exactly gone to plan, so it's all on me at the moment. And then until Golden Lord Byron runs in the Sprint Cup, well, hopefully he runs in the Sprint Cup at Haydock.
Go on, Byron.
Well, I think I won't be the only person, but quite a lot of people like Arab Dawn for the King George V handicap.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
levels. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like him, and Huey Morrison's worked it to perfection, getting that handicap mark of 89. It's just, but I think you're hoping that there are going to be other well-handicapped horses in the race, so that his price isn't so low, but you don't know until the day. And I also like Elidor, actually, for, what's the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah,
Over
I'd
a mile
agree
and
with
a
that
half.
as well.
Off a mark of 99, I think he could be very dangerous in that. And he could also potentially be a group horse, and Mick Shannon has also talked him up as being a potential cup horse next season, when given an extra season to develop. So there'd be a couple that I'm interested in at the moment. Richie Stewart is. Oh,
It'd be interesting to see where if that is the spirit does go to the Jersey or not. I know he's had three runs in the space of what 1.5 months or so now. But if he does go to the Jersey, because there's only one Royal Ascot, that would be very interesting because he's got a great acronym and he is a really good horse.
I think everybody's enjoyed his acronym so far, and thanks to, and I completely didn't even realise that. And Callum goes and tells us his acronym. It's like, right, we're just going to use that. So we hope that Tits can win the Jersey. Yeah, I really like the horse. That is the spirit. I'm going to call him by his normal name. I'm not going to be immature and unprofessional and just call him Tits for the rest of the video, because that would be unfair on the horse, because he is a very nice animal for David O'Mara. And the Jersey is probably the right race for him. Richie Stewart has asked a question. He said his nap tomorrow is Satellite. Ran a belter behind Cannock Chase last time out. A future Royal Ascot handicap winner, he thinks. Opinions. I'm going to take the lead on this because I was really impressed with Satellite in Newbury. I thought he wasn't given the best ride. I mean, he went 15 lengths clear. He came back and actually, to his credit, actually battled on in the London Gold Cup. And that is a race that has thrown up some very good horses in the past. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being group class in the end. I think he is a very nice horse. Can any of you agree with that? Or
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was very impressed by Satellite last time out. I mean, I was very surprised how well he kept on, if I'm honest, because like the point she said, he went off way too quickly up in front, and to only beaten 3 lengths in one of the strongest handicaps of the season, I mean, it's always a race that works out really well. I think it was impressive. The Hood hopefully will calm him down a little bit. If it does, then he's the one to beat in a pretty trappy race, if I'm honest. I mean, there's £3 between the whole field, and they're all of level weights. So it's quite a trappy race, but he's the one to beat if he settles.
Candice has come back again asking for thoughts on Caspian Prince of the Epsom in the Epsom Dash, particularly if we get rain. I wouldn't say it's the worst selection.
No, I gave him a little bit of a mention. Versatile on ground, in fantastic form, won at Epsom. I think there's a lot to like, if I'm honest. It's just whether he's good enough to be winning.
We've also got Richie Stewart came back again with his forecast for the Derby of Australia, Ebenor, and I agree with one half of that forecast. The short price favourite part of it, I don't agree with. But who knows? He'll probably go and prove me wrong now, and I'll look a complete idiot. Nigel Moore has tweeted again. Hi, Nigel. Australia to defy the drift, just like Tagrood did today. If you get bigger than 6-4, get on, as it should be odds on. That is confidence. I'll give him that. I wouldn't be that confident myself. Kieran at Monkey Tips has asked us, are we doing any Chromie related stuff? We were asked a question about California Chrome. We've all given our opinions there. Like to hear your views. Yeah. Also, Kieran Monkey Tips is doing a competition with your naps, basically. The nap has to be bigger than 4-1, and you're entered into a competition. The biggest price nap wins. I think it's a bet with Coral, if I'm correct.
Yeah, £10, I think.
There you go. Dan Munn has also sent us a question, and this is quite an interesting question, actually. Which race will be running the fastest time tomorrow? Will it be the Coronation Cup or the Derby?
That's a good question. I think it would depend on the deterioration of ground throughout the day. Looking at the, hang on, let's look at the coronation. Is there much pace on in the coronation?
Uh,
Um,
if there is, could end up making the running. That's the problem.
yeah,
I don't
so
think they'll go. If
I would
he's,
say the Derby.
I'd go with that.
Do you know, it's a very good question. It's something I need to look up really, but I assume usually the coronation is quicker unless it's running slow. But I mean, there's a few that like to make the running. I mean, ambivalent. I think that'll suit her actually, and she could do quite well. Battalion likes to front run, so if
Yeah.
there's enough pace on in that race, then I think that could be a decent time.
Yeah. It for me as well. It depends on the weather because if it chucks it down throughout the afternoon, it'll definitely be the Coronation Cup that would be the quicker race. But if it stays at a similar level, it could be the Derby because they're going to go a gallop in that as well. Because you've got 3 Godolphin horses and you've got 4 Ballydoyle, so you've got pace. You've definitely got pacemakers in there. And I think in that race you've got Kingfisher. You'll have Southern Wonder that'll probably go to the front and try and make it a real stamina test, or you could even try and slow it up so it help Australia see the trip out. So you don't know how it's going to be run. It could be run a bit like last year with Dawn Approach. He gets a mention again, the lovable screwball as Dawn Approach, who who went to the Derby with his tall reputation, and Ballydoyle played it perfectly and got him just too keen, and it was really sad that he finished last. Matt has come back and said we should be snapping his arm off for even money, and Tom Wubya, aka Wubsy Dubs, as we affectionately know him as, said, don't forget AR for the Royal Hunt Cup. That is an
Yeah, I was
interesting one,
going to
actually.
mention that.
That's an
Yeah,
interesting
I like it.
It's a Luca Kamani trained horse. Yeah, I think that's it. No more questions. Did any of you guys get anything? Or
No.
Michael, have you got anything?
My internet.
Yeah, your internet's shocking. We'll leave it at that. Right. Thank you very much for watching tonight. Hopefully we've given you a load of winners, so then we get an excuse to sack our current host, who is hopefully enjoying himself at the wedding. The last time he was off, it was at a wedding as well. So maybe there's a common theme now. We might just get him to go to a wedding every Friday night. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave our Twitters underneath like normal.
Naps.
Naps.
Yeah, naps.
Oh, I'm
Really forgot.
slacking. I'm slacking.
Saved by
my
Michael.
I wouldn't have minded actually forgetting about naps if I'm quite honest. But okay. Being as you remembered, Michael, and oh yeah, Naughty Lucky 15 as well if you've got one. Naps. What's your nap, Michael?
I
It's gonna hold it up. Hang on a
actually
minute.
through it. It's the 525, which is
525 Epsom.
one last year. I don't know if you can even hear me.
Same mark. Arctic
Feeling. Must be Arctic Feeling. Yeah.
14-1.
Yeah.
Ooh. You're enjoying going for your big price naps now, aren't you, Michael? Yeah. Callum, what's your nap tomorrow?
Bite Algar. I do like him.
I for Alga. I'm not going to nap a horse tomorrow. I'm going to O'Toy on Sunday, and I asked Luke if I could do this, and he said yeah, because he thought he was going to be here. But Abyssial runs over 2 mile free in the, I think it's the Prix du Alambrail, something along them lines. I just think the step up in trip, then French style hurdles. Ruby's going to be on board. I think he'll be very hard to beat, and he was also the top rated juvenile last season, which I couldn't believe when I opened the figures there. Yeah, he was top rated juvenile for that Punchestown win.
Christ.
He was rated a pound higher than Tiger Roll. And
Yeah, fair enough. There was some pretty poor ones, wasn't there? So.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching for the second time. As Michael very kindly interrupted me to remind me that we had naps to do. We will be back next week at the normal time with our normal host, unless we have a really good week and we just get rid of him. I'll leave our Twitters underneath. Thank you for watching, and good luck with the derby. Goodbye.